We've got a lot of news to get to today, and I want to get right to it because, we had some big stimulus news. So let's start with the stimulus news on the rundown this morning. By the way, you like our new rundown? It's about a week old now. I'm really getting the hang of it. I really like it.
I noticed you changed the date today. I had to go in there yesterday and do it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, does that do it automatically? Because I didn't notice. But
no worries. I made it so we could put something up there, or the date, or you could put a headline, whatever you want up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had to switch it today because I was like, I guess it doesn't auto-update. I checked it earlier. So anyway, first on the rundown. And these are the stories that are coming up on the show. These are the 5 big stories we're going to cover here on the show. And so number 1 on the list is our stimulus update. So it looks like that bipartisan infrastructure negotiations are, sadly, ready to fall apart. I know, it's shocking. I thought we were close to a deal, though, right? But no, it looks like it's all about to fall apart. Look at sad Rob Portman.
Yeah. Womp, How come womp. I knew this was coming?
Womp womp. Because you live in America?
It's the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of thing. Like they're not fooling me anymore. Like I've been fooled. They've been fooling us for, 2 decades.
Well, it's like Bush said, right? Fool me once. You can't fool me twice. Well, I'm not going to get fooled again. Whatever he says. So look at sad Rob Portman. He looks like sad Affleck, Ben Affleck. Remember that viral video of him? So anyway, it's going to fall apart. I mean, and this is exactly where we're at right now. It's all falling apart as this deadline has passed. Either this is about to turn around and they're suddenly going to get a deal, or as the late, great John McCain once said, it's always darkest right before it goes pitch black. So here's where things stand right now. Republicans in the G10, the group spent, that group that they've called themselves, they spent part of Monday basically back and forth clashing with Chuck Schumer and the White House over a global offer from the Democrats. The GOP senators and their aides said that the offer set their negotiations backwards now, rather than making any more progress.
Of course.
But then this was Rob Portman on just yesterday, making these comments about we're 90% there. We're there.
We're about 90% of the way there. I'm here this weekend working on legislative language with colleagues and with staff, and I feel good about getting that done this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what happened then? As the Joker says in Dark Knight, what happened? Did your balls fall off? The G10 met briefly on Monday, last night, and then on the Senate floor, and then they broke up. They walked away from it. There was some confusion about what was to come next. Some senators said that Rob Portman of Ohio, the lead negotiator, said, we don't know, basically, what's going to come next. We don't know. And Steve Ricchetti, a top White House aide, we're going to try to meet to try to get the talks back on track. So Portman and Ricchetti are going to try to meet today to get things back on track. Other sources said that this wasn't going to happen. They're not meeting. So, and the normally sort of low-key Rob Portman, who's been working on this for weeks, seemed frustrated with reporter questions that everything was falling apart. This photo was taken literally in the hall after, he said, I just spent all day talking to Democrats and Republicans, and we're making progress. But then later in the night, this is what it looked like. He's frustrated with reporter questions suggesting that everything was falling apart, saying he'd been talking to senators all day. I don't know what your impatience is. Portman told CNN's Manu Raju, he said, we're trying to get something serious done here. It's going to affect you and your kids and your future. Portman even offered to bet Raju over at CNN that the Ohio Republican would be able to notch a deal and have it pass the Senate. So he's betting now with a reporter. He's betting with reporters.
And you know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is they're going to come to this agreement, and everybody's going to go, and everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, we got it. And then it's going to be like Nancy Pelosi will block it or something. They're going to be like, now they can blame the Democrats. So, and then she'll be able to come out publicly and say, we just didn't like what was in it. It wasn't helping the people. And then it's going to go back, and it's just going to be this back and forth. I mean, we've seen this play out how many times now?
About 5 times. Oh, yeah. And then what'll happen is they'll say, we tried to work with Republicans. We couldn't get it done, so we're going to go and do it on our own. and this was all theater. So we literally, while people today's the 27th. Right? Today's the 27th of July. In just a few days, millions of people will face an eviction moratorium with no help in sight.
But you know what's funny though is here's what they do. Here's how it happens. They come out. This is going to be a $3 trillion bill. We're going to get this done. They let the Republicans whittle it down to nothing. They blame them. They blame the Democrats because they couldn't get anything done. Then the Democrats come in and say, okay, well, we're going to do it with, our way. But they go ahead and do the dwindled down number and not the original number that they wanted. So it's almost like, this is planned out. It's like we get them to whittle it down so we don't have to do the $6 trillion, but we still look like the heroes and we still look like we beat the Republicans because, we caved and got it done, but at the number that they got it to, not the original number.
Yeah. And, we should mention to that point, President Trump wanted like $1.5 trillion infrastructure deal. And so this is the Republicans from the Trump party came forward with a $500 billion deal.
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years. Nowhere close to what Trump even wanted. So, but of course, at the heart of all of this is Joe Manchin, one of the key Democrats in this, Democratic moderate, as people will call him, had a warning for Chuck Schumer. He sent a warning yesterday, and the White House, and all his progressive colleagues. He said, quote, I would say if the bipartisan infrastructure deal falls apart, everything falls apart, end quote. So if he can't work with his Republicans, they can't provide this watered down version and it falls apart, I am not going to go along with a reconciliation package vote where we discount and eliminate any Republican involvement. I'm not going to do it.
And these are the same Democrats, the exact same Democrats that were like, well, you know what? We don't need, if we win the Georgia runoff, if we win this, we've got the Senate, we got the House, we don't need the Republicans, we can do all this stuff. And then it's like, well, where's that at?
Well, it's not going to happen. And these are the same Democrats who aren't, we should just stop calling them Democrats at all. They are corporate Democrats, but just as the same Democrat, Joe Manchin, went to Texas for fundraisers hosted by several GOP donors. Like, Republicans are raising money for the guy. Should you trust him at all?
Well, list me any Democrats that aren't bought and paid for, or any Republican. Name me any politician that's not. That's a very short list. There might be 5 people on it.
I can't think of any. Yeah. The ones you probably think aren't, if you think like, Ilhan Omar, or you think Bernie Sanders, they probably have some, they definitely have some boosters in there that we're not hearing about. We know that AOC also like to think that these people aren't touched by it. But of course, everyone is in Washington. That's part of the problem. It's all the money that flows through. They're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. So that's your update on stimulus today, unfortunately. So we'll see. If it falls apart, then as Joe Manchin says, everything falls apart, unfortunately.